Welcome to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. Today we're doing a spoiler-free book review of Something Full Murderhobo, Book 1. It is a new Dakota Krout series, and oh my, it is amazing.
So the Dakota Krout multiverse just got a little bit bigger. In a lot of ways, this book is more of the same, and in a lot of other ways, a whole new flavor of LitRPG. What do you think, Pete?
So, as a standalone, I really enjoyed it. Does the multiverse thing well, and it just expands more potential. But then in relativity to his other books, I started noticing little hints that link to this book, but this book wasn't out yet. So kudos to you, Dakota Krout.
Yeah, it's obvious that he started to weave the threads pretty early in this. We just did the Geek Out for Book 4 of the Completionist Chronicles, and we saw some references for Murderhobo in there, um, as well as Book 5. And after going through this book, and we recently have been working on the Completionist Chronicles, I'm tempted to go back to the Divine Dungeon and just see if there's any little nuggets landed in there, because that is his first series. And yeah,
Yeah, he was releasing Divine Dungeon and then Completionist Chronicles kind of back and forth for a little bit there.
and Divine Dungeon wrapped up at 5 books. The Completionist Chronicles already at 5 books, and it's just scratched the surface there. I mean, if they keep the pacing the way it's going, and yeah, like that could easily turn into a 20-book series. And for Something Full Murderhobo, we kind of got a glimpse of the scope of it, but not really, right?
This is essentially getting our party together for our D&D run. It's the way it's portrayed, it's like story time. And so he's speaking of things that have happened in the past, and there's 4 viewpoints or 4 main characters. We really get more insight into 3 of them, but then it all kind of wraps up and you get insight into the 4th one. But yeah, it's kind of like their origin stories.
Yes, yes. So, quick synopsis slash background for you guys. You have the 4 main characters. There's Luke, there's Andre, there's Taylor, and there's Zed. Um, the realm is at war with the dynasty of dogs, and pretty much there's this draft that's implemented. The way it works is anybody of age gets tested to see if they have magic like abilities, and then if they do, they go into a special type of training where pretty much, um, I guess this really isn't a spoiler. It happens first couple chapters, but they will take you and throw you to a plane of existence to get trained by your designated trainer, and each plane operates at a different accelerated speed. That way, you may be there for 5 years subjective, but only 2.5 pass in the main plane of existence. So they go through their kind of like elite training before they come back and serve in the Royal Army. And it's a lit RPG book, but it really has its roots in D&D. So like a lot of those classes, a lot of the jargon, if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, you're familiar with the fantasy realm, you'll get that feel from it.
Yeah, I enjoy the organic feel of gaining new abilities as well as the leveling system is unique.
I personally feel that you could do this as a standalone if you want to start here. Would you agree with that, Pete?
Yeah, it's definitely the first book in the series. But one of the things that I love about Dakota Krout is for me in video games, I enjoy Easter eggs. You know, when you find that little piece where they incorporated something from another game, you know, as a nod to, hey, this is something I enjoyed or whatever. So Dakota Krout just has his books stuffed with Easter eggs from his other books. And in this one, you get a little bit back to Completionist Chronicles, but then in Completionist Chronicles, there's been at least one little snippet in book 4, and then there's been another reference in book 5. So it's just enjoyable the way that they're all somewhat interconnected. And I've talked on it prior that I really need a good multiverse book.
And I feel that Dakota Krout does it well, right? Like his series, they can stand alone on their own. You can enjoy them and not really realize that you're missing anything. Yet, if you have the whole big picture, get that much more from it, right?
Yeah, it's so one of my negatives about Dakota is I feel like not all of his ideas are fully fleshed out, but that's more for my like Brandon Sanderson longer winded books. But what he does well is the Easter eggs, keeping the story moving, and making it in a shorter form factor that's enjoyable. You know, you're not bogged down with all the stats, you're not bogged down by, you know, learning everybody's backstory and everything. You get what you need to know that's relevant to where you are, and then it just keeps progressing. So I enjoy the, I guess, pacing of the powering up.
Yes, yes. I would agree with that statement. Um, it's as far as lit RPGs go, it's not really super heavy on wearing you down with the stats. There's enough of character building to get things up and going. You don't get the elaborate backstory. You get enough to kind of get a grasp of the character, and then bam, you hit the ground running, and here we go. Um, which is nice for this size of book. It's not a large book, so you really don't have time for all the extra back pieces. And in a lot of ways, coming from somebody that consumes content 4 or 5 times as large as this, it's over before you realize it. Um, but it's a good first chapter in a series. Get your main characters trained up, you get a good grasp for the realm, you get a good grasp for the world, what's going on, and you get the infamous Dakota Krout puns and Easter eggs, and then it's over.
Not to spoil it, but the ending of this book was satisfying. And there's enough going on that I'm excited to see more. Like, it concluded well, but, you know, go ahead and write book 2.
Yes, yes. And with that said, these books are shorter, but he's relatively quick at releasing them. I want to say we get a couple Dakota Krout books a year. So fingers crossed, we'll get a handful more of the Completionist Chronicles and full Murderhobo in 2021. Um, yeah, Like we said earlier, great standalone. If you're new to the lit RPG genre, still recommend starting with the Divine Dungeon because it's more of a fantasy kind of leading into the lit RPG genre, and you'll get the foundation of his multiverse. We currently do not have this scheduled for a live book discussion just yet. We're still working our way through the Completionist Chronicles. If you guys are interested in seeing us do a live book discussion like we do every Sunday, let us know in the comments below. If you've made it this far in the video and you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe, and hopefully join us over on Discord where we geek out 24/7.